Over to you, John.
Oh, thank you. So I agree with a very large amount of what Jesse's just said. I mean, it is really noticeable that every once in a while capitalism goes wrong. Happens pretty regularly every couple of decades. Happened back in the start of the 19th century when all the banks went under and we had to have the Bank Charter Act, which had previously that banks had gone under and ruined people's lifetime savings. And every generation or so something new goes wrong and we have to fix it. And the reason why there is such a focus today on responsible capitalism is because people are casting around for answers, because in 2008 capitalism went pretty spectacularly wrong. And it impoverished a great number of people, and it made an awful lot of people extremely unhappy. And on one side we've got Jeremy Corbyn and co. saying the answer is to tear down the entire capitalist system, it's a creature of the devil, and the answer is to go to a socialist nirvana, please don't talk about Venezuela. And actually we know that that's, I hope I'm preaching to the choir at Conservative Party conference, that is not a good idea, that is not an answer that's going to work. But we have, and it falls to us as the major party of free markets in this country, it falls to us to come up with an answer which is saying we're not trying to pretend that capitalism has been working perfectly over the course of the last 10 years. It needs to be upgraded, it needs to be improved, it needs to be fixed, as has happened every couple of generations for centuries. And when we accept that notion, then we can start to advance ways to fix the system, which says the answer is a better form of capitalism rather than to tear it all down and rather than to sort of cleave to the ridiculous Islington lefty answers currently being proposed by the Labour Party. What does that look like? Well, put really, at its most basic, it's about better competition. It's about putting customers back in charge. It's about making customers kings or queens again rather than producers. What we have over the course of the last 10, 15 years is an incredible concentration in British industry, and in fact in many developed countries' industries, where more and more big companies have been establishing dominant positions. They've been able to ramp up their prices, they've been able to ramp up their profit margins, and an awful lot of that sort of stuff is happening at the expense of customers, and people notice. People feel they're being ripped off. People don't like their energy bills, they don't like their water bills. They feel that they are powerless in modern capitalism, and they don't feel like there's anybody on their side. And so part of the answer here is to say, no, the customer should be king. And if, as Jesse rightly points out, if we accept that markets aren't something which is just the law of the jungle, markets are made by people. Markets are made by humans. Markets follow laws which you and I, in a democracy, are responsible for. We have made the markets, we create them, and we can decide if they serve customers, or if they serve producers, or if they serve labour unions, or if they serve the Labour Party, or whoever they may serve. If we get the rules right, then we have an economy and a system that works in favour of the man and the woman in the street, people who we should be sticking up for, rather than for the people who are trying to oppress them by ramping up prices or becoming overly powerful. And so what we're seeing at the moment is everybody casting around for answers. So we're seeing lots of people saying the answer is to have shareholders on boards. That may be part of the answer. The answer may be to have an ethical form of capitalism. All of those are attempts to find truth and an answer to the failings of capitalism since the 2008 crash. I just gently say to all of us here this. We're looking in the detail when we look for those things. They are matter, they are important. But actually the crucial thing is, have we got competition right? Have we got the rules of the market right? Are we putting customers, consumers, first? If we are, then most of the rest of this stuff sorts itself out. But if we don't, then we are leaving ourselves open to the kind of rubbish that's being peddled by the Labour Party instead. So, to give you an example, if we talk about profit with a purpose, there are some people out there at the moment who are advancing an idea that you can't have capitalism in its purest form, because if you do, then you are somehow doing down workers, you're doing down customers. I mean, you need to have all these other things like, I think we've heard examples of new guidelines, new regulatory interventions, all these other bits and pieces. actually, if you have markets that are set up the right way, and it varies, as Jesse said, depending on what kind of market you're talking about, if you have markets that are set up to serve customers in the first place, then people will say, look, you know what, I want to have an ethical brand. I want to make sure that my product is environmentally sustainable. I want to make sure that my product treats supply chains, including both in the UK and in less developed nations around the world. I want to make sure that it treats those supply chains and the workers in them properly and ethically and sensibly and in the right way. Why am I doing that? Well, partly because it's the right thing to do, but also partly because it's good business. Because I can beat my competitors, the other firms active in this market, by being a better firm than them, by doing the right thing by my customers, by my suppliers, by my staff. And that's the insight which I just want us all to sort of fundamentally focus on, is ethical capitalism in the modern world is competitive capitalism, is winning capitalism, is good business. You can do well by doing good. That's what people expect, that's what customers want these days. But it's up to us as a party to create the kind of environment and the kind of rules of the game which allow people to do that and show them that the competition and delivery of the consumer power is the way to achieve it, and then they will fix the rest themselves, rather than having to over-regulate all these other areas. More competition, putting customers first, has to be the answer, I would argue, for responsible capitalism, because then it drives business people to take the right decisions and to behave ultimately in a responsible way.
Thank you very much. Very